Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chaser Talks weekly podcast with your host Chaser. Here today on the table today is we're going to be talking about my experience with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, and I gotta be honest, it is a very underappreciated cruise line. And I mean, obviously, there are some pretty bad ones like Carnival Cruise Lines, which has had a bad reputation in the years, but Royal Caribbean hasn't had very little besides the Costa Concordia, has had very little impacts to its actual company, to its actual ships. While side companies like Costa and Costa Concordia disaster, like that, took a lot of negative press, media attention, but Royal Caribbean itself is a very strong standing company. And I'm so glad I picked it instead of like Disney Cruise Lines, because those ones are more aimed for kids and I'm more aimed towards adults. And I wanted a cruise line where it was between kids and adults. I wanted that type of cruise line because Disney, I know there are adult things to do, but Disney itself is centered as a kids company, and Royal Caribbean is more centered towards adults. And Carnival, I think it's more sent towards at least floating on the ocean and not sinking. But it was a very, very pleasurable experience, and obviously they even have their own hotel chain here, which is the picture right here called the Carib Royale. And look at the pool in the background. That is a well designed pool, and it is one that I would eventually get kicked out of, because I went head first on a water slide, and the lifeguards did not like that. Oh my goodness! If you're watching this, I'm sorry. I just had to do it for the memes. But it was a very, very fancy hotel, but the rooms were kind of small. Like, there was 3 separate towers. There was one in the background, there was another one to the left, and then there was one where I was standing under, or it's behind this picture. That was the lobby. There were 2 on each side that all had rooms in them, and the one in the background is a luxury one. And it was a pretty good experience for just the hotel. They had great room service, and rooms were very well kept, and pool was very, very cool. You could see in the background they had little fountain features and stuff like that. They even had a late night movie, poolside movie, and yeah. And the next day was the actual part. It was where I got to see the Harmony of the Seas by Royal Caribbean, which is the second largest cruise ship in the world. It is so awesome and so huge. She is a beast. She is like, I have a model of it right here, which you can't see, but right next to me, it is huge of a model. Like, oh my goodness gracious. It was meant to support, I think, like 5,000 people. It could hold at maximum. Or was it 8,000? I don't know. But it is a big ship and very luxurious. It is just a tiny bit smaller besides its parent, Symphony of the Seas, also owned by Royal Caribbean. And it was very, very giant for a ship. I don't even have words for how big it is. It was just huge. And it was the first time I ever went on a cruise ship. So it was very similar to being at an airport. You would drop your bags off. You would go through. You'd go through with your passport. They'd scan the passport. They'd put you through the metal detector. Make sure you're not bringing anything dangerous on board. And you got a ticket. And since we got early bird check-in, I think we didn't have to get a ticket. We already had one on our Royal Caribbean app, and it was very convenient. And it was so lucky. Like it was very convenient because the line to print your ticket was like it was very long. Like it was the room was full, so we just went straight to the cruise ship, and it was the walkways. They were pretty open to air, so it was definitely Florida. And you could see the Kennedy Space Center from our cruise ship and our room even, which is where Apollo 11 was at. And it was I was very surprised at the quality of it. Like it was pretty decent staterooms. That's what they call them. They're not hotel rooms, but the bathroom was where I was most impressed. We got an ocean view balcony. This was at Cape Canaveral, or not Cape Canaveral, Port Canaveral. Those little windows you see in there, that's where you went through where they checked your passport and driver's license and all that stuff to make sure you were the person that the passport said you were. We were lucky enough to get an ocean view balcony, which I didn't even know we got, and it was so cool because I'll tell you later. Well, actually, I'll just tell you right now that every time we went into a port, we would always be at the side of the dock. Like our balcony would always be facing towards the dock, so we always got a view of when the ship was docking and when it was departing. And it was very cool to see how the ship was. And that's the room from the other side. You could see it could hold 3 people, which it was good for us. You could turn the couch into a bed, which is where I slept. And then there was a master bedroom, or master bed. There was 2 closets and a couple cupboards over, and a mirror, and a charging station. And the bathroom was where I was most impressed. Like, it's probably twice as big as an airplane bathroom, and very, very luxurious. Like, I thought, the toilets are kind of similar to, a airplane's toilets, because they have that loud noise, but not too loud, and the sink and stuff and all that was very, very cool. It was very modern as well. And the shower was, it was a pretty decent shower. They had a lot of hot water and complimentary shampoo and conditioner, which is always a good thing. Even though I did bring shampoo, I just decided to use the conditioner and all that stuff. But what shocked me most was because we got a beverage package, which had you would get unlimited drinks, including alcoholic beverages, which I'm surprised that is even a rule. We got these little souvenir cups, which had all the names of the ships at Royal Caribbean's fleet, and it was sponsored by Coca-Cola. So yeah, I just straight up went all lemonade. But I eventually got sick after a couple days, which is something very rare for me. I got sick of lemonade, and I just went with water. Yeah, the view from it was very cool. It was not too high, it was not too low. It was right above the lifeboats, so we just needed to just take an elevator down and we'd be at the lifeboats. Which yeah, that was I experienced my first muster drill, which is a simulated emergency gathering. It's kind of like a fire drill, where you all have to go to a place. But instead of getting out, you go to a place near the lifeboats, and showed us a really cheesy video about the importance of the muster station and all the stuff. But the one thing that surprised me most that my parents actually had something to do with was my freedom around the ship and the Sea Pass card, which is basically your card that gets you anywhere. It gets you inside your stateroom. It could get you stuff and rent stuff and even get towels and stuff. The ship itself was very massive. Like, there was nothing that would get you bored off of it. There was always something to do. They had certain events. They had flow riders at the tail of the ship, which you could book private lessons to. They had some slides, dry slides on there, called the Ultimate Abyss, which was very, very fun. One thing I do really don't like is that you have to go all the way back up. I wish you could take the elevator straight up, but you have to walk through the through the boardwalk and then get to an elevator, which the elevators would stop at multiple floors, but the back part also had a basketball court and a mini golf court, and the one thing that was my personal favorite as well was the teen hangout place, or I think it was called, what was it? It wasn't the club, it was the phase or something, I don't know. I forgot what it was. We're just gonna call it the nightclub. It was basically a teen hangout place, so designated from WA. And it was very, very cool. And they had video games there like Madden, Street Fighters. What else did they have? They had this like DC fighters things, like DC Comics and all that stuff. And they had Minecraft and my favorite, Just Dance 2018, which I spent a lot of time on there. And you had to, one thing that was very smart was which you had to leave your C-Pass to get controllers and the game itself, so you wouldn't walk off with the controllers. That was a very good policy. And right next to it was called, where was the nightclub, where they would have dance parties and stuff like that. And they had this one night which was the prom, which you would wear fancy clothes and there would be requests for songs, and they started out pretty virtual, and had a couple rap songs with the occasional slow dance songs. But then it just started going just to requesting nonstop Hamilton. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Hamilton, but oh my goodness, my dancing was cringy. But yeah, and there was also an arcade next door, and they'd have events like games in the place. I forgot what it was called. But it was a very good place. I liked that they also had toddler places for little kids to hang out, and they had also adult things like the belly flop contest, which was in the sports pool, which I'll get to that in a little bit. But there was a lot to do. And they even had an escape room on it, and an ice rink, and a movie theater, and a theater where you could watch musicals like Grease, which I saw. And the movie and the musical are kind of different. It is kind of different. And so, day 2, Coco Cay. Perfect day at Coco Cay. This was my favorite part of the cruise because I am a water park junkie. I just love water slides, and the old Coco Cay it had a couple water slides, and basically how the left side of this picture, it just looked like that throughout the island, and this dock thing didn't exist. You'd actually have to take boats to get to the island. That was before it got its upgrade, which was, I think, a $300 million upgrade, which added that tower that you see, that red, orange, and yellow tower right there, with that balloon to the left of it. And that is the Daredevil's Tower, which is just a tower of water slides. And that was where I spent 90% of my time there. It was a very, very good water slides. One of the most memorable being Daredevil's Peak. That is the one at the very, very top. It was so fast. And the line, 2.5 hours. And I waited every single second of it just to get to the top. And let me tell you, it was worth it. The only complaint about it was that when it would keep on going so fast that your back wouldn't be touching the actual water, since the water stayed at the bottom of the slide. You'd be actually going so fast that your body would actually be pinned to the side, to the right side of the slide, and you wouldn't get any water, and it would just burn your back. That was my only complaint about Daredevil's Peak. And they had two racer slides where the floor dropped out, and they had just normal slides where you just went straight down, and they had looping slides, and they had even family raft slides, where there was one where you went up a wall. They had racer slides with mats, and they had just a regular tube slide. Yeah, and the Up and Away helium balloon experience, which I didn't go on, is that balloon that's right to the left of Daredevil's tower, which is a balloon that goes up 500 feet, and I didn't get a chance to go on it. But it's very modern and very Caribbean-like. Look at the covers out there, and we went very early in the morning, and it was very beautiful. The sunrise coming over it, and you could see Up and Away helium balloon is airborne in this picture. See, we're close to Daredevil's tower. And one thing which was pretty awesome, left is chill, right is thrill. So right, there was a fork in the path where if you went left, you'd go to like the chill place with like the lagoon pool and the chairs and the beaches and stuff, which was basically where you chill out. To the right is where you went to the thrill water park, which is where all the water slides were, and it was the thrill part. And it was a very, very well designed area. Even it opened 2 months prior. Like the thrill water park opened 2 months prior to me going on the cruise, which is very lucky. The Cocoa Beach Club, which is a new thing that is coming in December of 2019. It says in a couple months. That's where it's going to have an infinity pool in the Cocoa Beach Club, where they have private cabanas and overwater cabanas, which are basically just little huts where you could stay in. But two complaints. One was that the sand was very hot, and I didn't like putting on sandals because wet sandals, I've been to too many water parks, and wet sandals don't feel good. And two, I didn't get enough time. I wish there was 2 days that you could stay at Coco Cay, but it's perfect day at Coco Cay. You had to like rush to get to stuff, and I woke up about 1 hour after we docked. So people were already off, and I was like, "Oh, we gotta go." My parents were just chill, but I don't think my mom went on any body slides. My dad went on one body slide, which was one straight down water slides, and he was afraid of heights. And you could see in this picture, there was see the harmony of the seas, and yeah, and the seagulls. Boy, they wanted food. They wanted food bad. We lost, I think, a couple fries and cheese sticks to the seagulls. Yeah, they were pretty wild. That's why they said don't feed the seagulls. And the towels there were very comfy, and they were also complimentary. But you would get charged if you brought any towels from Coco Cay onto the ship. And the zip line on the ship was very, very, very short, but cool, because you'd go over the boardwalk, which was a couple decks down. Well, I think it was like 10 decks down, and you'd look down, and it would just be people walking. It was very short, but it was pretty decent for a cruise ship. And this was one of my favorite quotes. "My room is not a mess. It's an obstacle course designed to keep me fit." That is so true to my sister's room. It is a mess, but she does work out. But the eating options there were pretty numerous. Like, there was styles for anything. There was buffets. There was reservation styles. One of my favorites was the Windjammer Cafe, or the Windjammer Marketplace, not the cafe, which is where this picture is. This is not my breakfast, by the way. This is my mother's breakfast. She eats healthy, and so just compare these. This is my mother's breakfast. It's got some fruit, some scrambled eggs. Compared to this, a donut, some waffles, Fruit Loops, and bacon. Now, this was all complimentary. You didn't, as long as you washed your hands, they'd be fine. And they were washing freaks. Like, they wouldn't let you in unless you washed your hands. Because even though they do have a nurse on board, they still want you to wash your hands to prevent the spread of germs. Because germs at sea are no bueno. But if you guys are worried about exercising on the boat, and don't fear, because they have a running track on it. Yes, a running track that goes, I think, 3/4 of a mile every lap. There's the view from the back of the running track. It would be outside mostly. And the fitness center, it had classes and spa. They said you could rent, book trainers, and there would be some cycling classes as well, and there was a spa right next door, so you could book massages and treatments and waxes and stuff, and even an acne treatment, which I needed, but we didn't have time. And it was all complimentary, except for like the classes you have to pay for them. But there was complimentary access for the fitness room. And there was the staircase that you went down to the running track, and there was 2 sections of it. There was a run and a walk section. So there was no traffic jams. And here was the Central Park. You could see there was water slides on the cruise ship, which was a big plus. A big plus. Because I love water slides. And the the blue and yellow ones were racer slides, which were just normal slides. And the green and yellow one was a toilet bowl one. They were both body slides, and both were awesome. And right here is the Fine Line Aqua Show, which you've probably seen in my day-by-day vlog of it. I put quite a bit of the show in it because I didn't really have much to. I didn't film a lot of the ship. I just took a lot of pictures, and the Fine Line Aqua Show was I've seen quite a number of Cirque du Soleil shows, which is basically a circus company where they have shows, which I mostly saw in Vegas. They had one called O, which was a water show. This was kind of the great value version of it. I couldn't really find a story behind it. It was like, I don't even know what the fine line is. But yeah, and they even had things for kids right here. They had the kids play area, which I couldn't go on. They had the bucket there, which one of my pet peeves like on that kids area was that the bucket was never straight up. It was always tilting a little bit down because of the ship's movement. I think even at port it was tilted down a little bit. I don't even know. But it was always personally annoying me that it was never straight. And the sports pool right here, which is pictured, was jam-packed. You could see there was only like 2 lifeguards on duty, and it was stuffed. But that's where the belly flop competition was, and where the more adult activities were. And then here was like the kids area, like the beach pool and the 4 hot tubs and the water slides. And there was also something. This was near the front of the ship. You can't see this, but that glass part right there, that is part of the solarium, which is an adult-only area, which 16 plus, so I was 16, so yay, I could go in. It was pretty fancy. You would have a lounge chair, there were a couple of hot tubs, there was a pool in there, and there was waiters that went around asking you if you needed something, and They even went as far as to give me like a lemonade slushy. Like that was fancy. And so day 4, St. Thomas. The I didn't even know what St. Thomas was until I saw the U.S. Virgin Islands on a Navy ship. And the Virgin Islands, they were absolutely beautiful. It was for a Caribbean island, that was basically, if you imagine the Caribbean, St. Thomas would be what you imagine all the Caribbean islands would look like. And you could book excursions on this at St. Thomas, or you could go by yourself as long as you as long as you got back on the ship by gangaway time, or by gangaway up time. Then they'd be fine. But you could book excursions with the cruise company, which we did. We went on this 3-way. It was a canoe, snorkel, and hike. So it was a good physical workout. You'd first not canoe, kayak to a area which you went against the current, which was very tiring, and then you'd take a hike to this natural spring. With, oh my goodness, it was a sea urchin convention. There was so many sea urchins, and not male genitalia, not that kind of sea urchin, like actual sea urchins. There was they were mostly small, but there was a couple big ones in there, and the big mama. And and the natural spring was, every time the waves went up against it, it would crack, like it would shoot some water up in the air. I don't know if that was the waves going through the rocks and it was really no natural spring, but that's what they told us. Yeah, look at that. That's the definition of a Caribbean island. And that ship you see at the bottom, that was where we saw the U.S. Virgin Islands. Part of it. And here's the port. Welcome to St. Thomas. Enjoy your stay. And we had to take a little shuttle to the place where they give the things, the kayaks and all that stuff. And then after the hike, you'd hike back to where you left your not canoes, kayaks, and you get snorkels. And you just snorkel around this coral reef, which unfortunately, due to coral bleaching and global warming, there wasn't any reef for us to look at. There were a couple fish, which you guys probably don't know this about me, but I am deathly afraid of fish and stuff underwater. So yeah, but I eventually got comfortable with it. Like once I floated for like a good minute or two, there were tiny fish, which was very good. I don't like big fish, but tiny fish I'm fine with. I'm more fine with than bigger fish, which I'll tell you about a bigger fish story later. But yeah, it was just so sad to see that a coral like thriving here was destroyed. It was just bleached. There was white coral and seaweed, and then there was nothing. There was nothing there. It was so heartbreaking to see how much destruction that a few degrees can do. I mean, when we got the call that we were heading back to the rental place, I started to swim back, and right when I was about to stand up, I saw this thing float. I noticed this black spot on the goggles. I thought it was just like a dust thing or a scratch on the goggles, but then it moved. It moved. And then my eyes put together the rest of the puzzle, and I saw a huge fish. A huge fish. It was invisible. Like, it was literally clear. I couldn't see anything. It just moved on by, and it was about the size of my arm. Well, not my full arm, but probably like the size from my fingertips to my elbow. It was huge. And it just moseyed on by, and then I just screamed. Because I have a phobia of fish, and it just went off behind me, and then that's when I started thrashing. And next thing you know, I'm being pulled out by the lifeguards. And so, yeah, there was a lecture that night about screaming. But yeah, when we went back, it was relaxing because we didn't even have to paddle. We just needed to push ourselves off and the current would take us. So, and the drive back to the ship, I could see the actual beauty of St. Thomas. It had a self-sufficient economy, and it was a pretty decent town for something in the Caribbean. They they had like tsunami evacuation stuffs, and they even were still recovering from the damage of Hurricane Irma, which they have come a long way. And the U.S. Virgin Islands themselves are a good batch of islands, and they accept U.S. currency and stuff like that. And my one favorite part on St. Thomas was the bamboo shop, which is basically everything in that store. All the products sold were made out of bamboo strings. So they had shirts, they had towels, bathrobes, and even pillowcases and bed cases. Or not bed sheets. Bed sheets and pillowcases made out of bamboo strings. So it was environmentally safe and stuff. So it was help to save other animals. And oh yeah, this. So our stateroom attendant, his name was Lindell. He was a very nice Jamaican man. He had that, Jamaican accent that was always a good thing. They're nice when they have that little accent. And he was always nice. He always did these little extra things for us, like, put extra, like make our beds a little extra nice. And our personal favorite and my mom's personal favorite was making towel animals. Now this resembled a monkey that he made. I think there was a kangaroo, and I forgot which the other one was. I don't know. But yeah, this was us arriving into St. Martin right here, which is my second favorite place, because you probably know what St. Martin is known for in Phillipsburg. But a little backstory on St. Martin. I didn't know that there was a St. Martin and a St. Martin, but they were pronounced the same way. The island was split into two sides. One was the Dutch side, and the other side was the French side. The Dutch side was where, I forgot what it is, Phillipsburg, which you guys know. Oh yeah, that's the hand washing station. Where the Princess Juliana International Airport is, or Maho Beach. It is a famous airport, known for how low the planes land to the beach, and they land pretty low. There was a Cessna Caravan, a DHL Cessna Caravan that went very low. Like there was, it was pretty low. It was like about two people's length away from me, and whew, it was pretty low. And the biggest jet I think that we saw there was an A330, which was for air transit. But we weren't on the beach when we saw that. We were on our way back to the ship. But the one that we actually saw go over the beach was a 757 for Delta, and American. Well, the biggest one was an American 757-300. We saw 200 for Delta. But there was quite a bit of variety in it. I wish the KLM 747s didn't discontinue service to St. Martin. But yeah, St. Martin itself also was doing very good at recovering from Hurricane Irma. Again, they were devastated by that, and the airport actually shut down, which was a very bad tourist. It hurt the tourism part of it. So yeah, there was a couple A320s with JetBlue and the Vacations Library, and I went in the ocean a couple times, and that is something rare. I don't really like going in lakes and stuff because of the fish, But yeah, I even saw some airplane types I've never seen before, like the SAAB or the Saab 340, which is this plane right here, and the Band 2, which is a plane that looks like the Dash Q400, but like a small version. But yeah, the island itself was very beautiful. It was a very beautiful island. Again, this is probably what you think of the Caribbean if you were to think about it, like St. Martin itself. And this is part of the Windjammer 4th of July celebration. They had cakes, and if you can see right at the top right there, that's Coco Cay, or like a representation of Coco Cay. And again, the service was very prime. They had the head chef, or a chef that would actually cut slices of a cake if you wanted one and present it to you personally, which the head chef coming to you is, like, by itself is an honor. And to deliver food to you personally is a good, it's just, that just tells you're important. And yes, if you guys are wondering, I did meet the captain. Very nice. Yeah, and look at the presentation with this stuff. Yeah, just look at this. Bread is love. Happy 4th of July. Harmony of the seas. Those were for display only, though. So, you can see me at the top left corner, right there, just getting some cupcakes. And yeah, you can see right there, I'm going to zoom in right there. You can see right there, that's the souvenir cup that we got. Unfortunately, I did lose this. I lost this one. But they were nice enough to give me a replacement one, which unfortunately was an orange one. It wasn't this exact color. But yeah, you got unlimited drinks, and you could see the head chef and the sous chef right there. And yeah, so right there is the cakes. They had some chocolate cakes. They had some angel food cake on there. They had a wide variety of cakes right there. And right here is the royal, not the royal prawn, the boardwalk, which is it's what it says. It's has some more chill stuff. It's got the shop, which is where you could buy Royal Caribbean merchandise. And then they have the dry slide exit and the aqua theater, which is where you see the aqua show. And right here, you see right there, that's Johnny Rockets, which is a malt and hot dog and hamburger place. It was basically a 50s diner, like a 1950s diner. Right here is where there was a Mexican place called Tequila. Yes. And then right here you see is the arcade. Yeah, and you could also, the one thing that I was very lucky is that we didn't get one of these balcony staterooms, because when you get a balcony stateroom, it doesn't tell if you're ocean view or if you're overviewing the royal, not the royal, the Central Park or boardwalk. So it could be anything. And this is the Royal Promenade. Right to the left of you is the Rising Tide Bar, which is a slowly rising bar that would go up to the Central Park. It would take, I think, like 30 minutes to get to the top. It was very slow, and so right here was where the Bionic Bar was, which is basically a robotic arm that makes your drinks for you. So it would make precise measurements for your drinks. It would be right 50%, like it would be right 99% of the time. But one thing that it was very slow. It would take like 3 minutes to make a drink. Or no, it was like 5 minutes to make a drink, while a normal human being would take like 30 seconds to a minute to make the drink. So even though a human being is more efficient, it's not the same. So, I mean, quality over quantity is what some would say, but quantity over quality, some would say that. Yeah, and let's find some other stuff in this. Right there was just like a bar place where they put performances, and they even had a Beatles impersonator who sung some songs as well. Blocked by this pillar is Sorrento's Pizza, or actually no, it's right. Actually, right there, that's Sorrento's Pizza, which was the pizza place. and my favorite place of them, um, they had some picture or photo galleries, and Next Cruise, which was a place where you could get special discounts if you were going to sail with them again. Um, yeah, and to sum it all up, right here is at the end of the ship, right next to a buoy that says Harmony of the Seas. Overall, it was not long enough. It was too short. I really wish that it was longer, because it was just a once in a lifetime thing. There was so much to do. There was it was an experience. I'm really was bummed out. Even though we were flying home, which is something I really enjoy, I actually didn't want to fly. I didn't want to go, which is something that's like a cardinal sin in this channel, not wanting to fly. That like I it was with most trips I always don't want to go home, but this one it hit hard. Like more than the last time that I went to see my grandparents in Las Vegas, which they sold their home to go to live next to my cousins down in Tupelo, which I still get to fly there, by the way. Yeah, it was this being 2 months ago for my 16-year-old trip. This was very it was pretty expensive, but it was a very well sought experience. If you were considering going on a cruise, you guys should pick Royal Caribbean. And I'm not being sponsored by this, but pick Royal Caribbean. It is a wonderful cruise line with some wonderful ships. But make sure you do some research on these ships and on the excursions before you book the cruises, because you don't want to get stuck on a ship that has nothing to do. Which is why you should check out cruises.com. No, there's no such thing as cruises.com. I'm not sponsored. But yeah, Royal Caribbean itself is a very well sought cruise line, even though they have had a reputation with the Costa Concordia. But Carnival is just plain bad. But I mean, their cruises aren't cheap, so you need to start saving up like a couple of years before you go on a cruise. You need to start saving up. Like it costs like maybe for our cruise it was like $1,000 per person for the staterooms, and there was a bunch of extra charges like the hotel rooms and the balcony cabin addition charge. There was flight charges, and there was a valet for our bags, and there was even one thing that was also handy was that Royal Caribbean, even when we left, they did one last nice thing. Even after we got off the ship, they would take our bags for us and check them in for us, so we didn't have to check in our bags. They printed our ticket for us, so we didn't have to print the ticket, so it was just straight on to security. It was straight on to the security, and they also even gave us access to the lounge at Orlando International, which I've never been in a lounge before, and I've never tried an airport shower, so I had to try the airport shower. And yeah, even after we got off the cruise ship, which I felt very sad. But yeah, the flight home, when we got off the plane, I was like, it's done. It's done. When we got our bags and walked out of the airport and stepped into my house, I literally went to my room. I just cried because it was over. I was so upset that it was over. I wanted more. But yeah. But if you guys are really considering a cruise, make sure you save up some of that dough and book it with Royal Caribbean. And they have some very modern ships, and some ship recommendations are Harmony of the Seas, which I was on, Symphony of the Seas, Navigator of the Seas, which is some very good water slides there. What else is there? I forgot. Oasis of the Seas is a similar ship to Harmony of the Seas. That's Oasis, and they have a new ship called Ovum of the Seas. Oh, not Ovum, Ovarium of the Seas, which is has some new suites and stuff. But yeah, just make sure you do your research before you get on the ship and before you book your cruise. But we were lucky enough to find a cruise itself that had, because I wanted to go see St. Martin, but I also wanted Coco Cay. And we found it. And it was actually right in our schedule point. It was it was like the perfect cruise. But make sure you just save up that dough before you go on the cruise. Whew, oh my goodness, that's a lot of talking. Once again, guys, thanks for joining me on Chaser Talks podcast. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and that subscribe button. And if you want to know when I upload, make sure to hit that little bell icon. And I will be doing another stream tonight, which is going to be Infinite Flight. So don't worry, guys, I have not forgotten about it. So make sure to tune in again for that tonight. And the next Chaser podcast will be my backstory. It will be next Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time, so same time as this one comes out. I'm gonna try and bypass some of this time. We still got 14 minutes before I have to kick the bucket and get out of here. So I think it's maybe some stories about this ship. I'm a very picky eater, so the Windjammer Cafe was very, very convenient. But also, my parents gave me a lot of freedom on this. Like, they would always, when we went to a water park, they would always need to know where I am. But they told me, as long as I didn't go overboard, they know that I was on the ship. So they didn't care where I went. As long as I said where I was going, I even went and ate by myself. Like, I'd come in at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they'd be sleeping, and I'd just be dancing at the nightclub. The Pulse nightclub, not the Pulse nightclub. Oh no, it's not the Pulse. I did it bad. I said the Pulse nightclub. It's not the Pulse nightclub. I forgot. I really gotta look that up. But yeah, they had competitions, like they had a dodgeball competition at the teen place, a Just Dance competition, which I don't know how, but I was the last place. And they had a flow rider thing, and even a water park free play thing, which was very awesome because it was just us. It was just a group of, I think, like 40 or 50 of us that were in the water, that were on the water slides and in the pools. Yeah, and it went for an hour. It was some pretty good times. Yeah, we spent like, I think, over $10,000 on this cruise. And my parents went as far as to get even game credits for me for the arcade, which I did some unruly things. I spent $11 extra because I thought I had more credits, but I actually ran out of them. But yeah, I got a couple stuff. I got some sport team necklaces, a Fortnite default keychain, a Minecraft Diamond Sword keychain, a fan, and I think a RC plane as well with the stuff. Like a tiny RC... No, it was not an RC plane. It was an RC helicopter thing. Yeah, and it was pretty good for 1,000 game credits. Yeah, it was Royal Caribbean is a well-known airline. Not airline. I think of keeping airlines. Is a well-known cruise line for its neutrality. Um, Again, I checked at this in the beginning of the podcast. It advertises towards adults, but they have lots of stuff for little kids and teens and stuff. Like they had even there was not a place where a bar wasn't in a 10-foot radius of you. That's probably 100-foot radius of you. Um, and they even had their place dedicated for like smokers and like where you could smoke cigarettes, cigars, or vape there. Yeah, and like I don't like smoking myself, but that was a pretty cool addition because like people who like to just relax and like smoke something and just have a smoke or something, they don't have to wait till they're at port. They could just go to that place and area. And they also had a movie theater on there, which I only saw one movie, which was I forgot what the name of it is, Skyscraper. It has Dwayne Johnson in it. It was about this like FBI agent that is just a security guard and has to try and save his family during a terrorist attack on a skyscraper. Yeah, it's a very good movie. If you loved Dwayne the Rock Johnson. But yeah, Grace, the musical is very different from the movie. It had the same bass lines, but there was something like there was that annoying girl. Like Danny in the movie never had a thing for her, but in the musical, they actually were a thing. For one bit, even as far as doing it, but it had the same bass lines and a couple even extra songs in it that wasn't in the film itself. But yeah, it is, and I also saw a comedy show which was also very funny. I have a couple videos. One of my favorite jokes was when he was talking about things that he hated as a kid but loves it as an adult. One was pretty obvious, which was nap time. When he was like, as a kid, I was like, nap time, but now I'm like, oh, a nap for me? Like, that was pretty obvious. Like, some adults love nap time and, like, places where they could just relax and just, take a breather. But kids, they just want to do everything. They just don't want to slow down. But one thing that was very funny was when he said, taking a crap. And he was like, as a kid, I didn't mind. But as an adult, I hear a little rumble down here. And the first thing I see is, where is my iPad? Which is so today. That is so true. And he's like, gotta go down to the guest bathroom where the good candles are. No one will find me in here. Time to sit and play some Candy Crush. It was so off. It was so funny. And he talked about like his trips and all that stuff, like to Canada and how he saw a moose. And yeah, my parents didn't even know I went to that show, and they were surprised. But one thing that we went to that I actually won on this cruise, which I never used, unfortunately, because it already passed when I realized what it was when we went to this, my family went, when we got on the ship and put our stuff in our stateroom, we went to this, like, meeting or something that was talking about the harmony of the seas and our trip, and about the destinations, well, about Coco Cay and what to expect, and some little tips on how to have the best, like, how to make the most out of it. And they also, you could put in, like, your ticket, like, or, like, they gave out little tickets, for your, like, lottery. Like, you just need to put your state, they just put out, like, they had, like, a little lottery thing where you could win stuff. You just need to put your stateroom and your name, and I actually won. I won. They had multiple prizes, but I won. It was, like, Jack from stateroom 1076, I think. 1076, I think it was. That was our stateroom. It was on the 10th deck. And, yeah, it was, this little beach mat thing where it was basically a floating mat, and it was going to be at Coco Cay. It was a free admission to it. Unfortunately, when I realized that it was only on Coco Cay, and it wasn't an actual mat that you got to keep, we were already leaving Coco Cay. So yeah, I didn't get to use that at all. But yeah, it was a very, very awesome experience. Like, I was actually getting uncomfortable with, like, my parents were getting uncomfortable because most of the stuff they did, like cooking and making their beds and all that stuff, was done for them. They were actually getting uncomfortable, like, for people doing it for them, and all the simplicity of all of the daily tasks that would most of the time take work to do. And, like, for me, it was heaven, because I loved simplicity, that people did the stuff for you, and that you just needed to worry about what you were going to do for the afternoon. What were you going to have for dinner? You didn't need to worry about anything. Well, my parents had to worry about one thing, which was laundry, because they didn't have washing machines on the cruise ship, so you had to either pack all your clothes for the cruise, or you had to bring a portable laundry thing, which we did. I don't even know what it is, even. But you gotta come prepared for a cruise as well. 1, gotta make sure you have the dough. 2, you have to make sure you plan carefully before you select. 3, make sure you're prepared for all scenarios on this cruise ship. Make sure you have extra cash. Even if you think what is enough, have a little extra in case something bad happens. Always have your passport when you dock off. And your C-Pass always, because you can't get back on unless you have your C-Pass. But in case, like, something happens in that country or with the ship, you could always just take a flight back. And you can't go through customs unless you have your passport. So yeah, make sure you always have your passport within arm's reach of you whenever you get off the ship. And same with your C-Pass as well. Don't go anywhere without it, because otherwise you can't get back in the room. And you really can't get a replacement. Well, I think you can get one replacement, and you have to get charged for it. I think it's like $50 for a replacement. You have to show proof of identity. Yeah. So make sure you're prepared and plan, and make sure you got that dough, and have fun. Cruises are not a thing that you should take if your money is not in a good place. Wait, unless you feel comfortable and absolutely confident that you can financially stand on your feet after this, even after paying all of this for this cruise, then unless you feel like that, don't go on a cruise. It's only meant for people who are financially well, because you don't want to add more debt if you're already in debt. Like, unless you're gonna die tomorrow, then there's nothing that you should buy a cruise if you're in debt. But that was a terrible joke. But yeah, guys. So, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning your ears into this week's edition of Chaser Talks. I already told you, next week on Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time, talking about me backstory. And also, guys, there's going to probably be a new flight vlog in the near future, which is going to be probably a Southwest flight from Minneapolis to Nashville, and then Nashville to Tupelo on Contour Airlines, which operates the Embraer family, the Embraer 135 and 145, which I've never flown on before. I've never flown in Contour or on an Embraer plane in my life. I've flown in an Airbus and on a Boeing, but never in my life have I flown on an Embraer jet or a Bombardier jet. But yeah, guys, make sure to tune in next week at 2 p.m. for the next edition of Chaser Talks. And make sure to tune in your ears next time. And have a great day. Peace out.